It's good.
All right,
freaks people out.
We are recording.
All right.
Just so everybody's aware before they get inappropriate, Kate.
It's too late.
It's too late. All right, welcome.
We have no plan, predetermined plan today.
You are so out of practice.
I know.
You used to
Rusty.
just be like, "Welcome to Ticker Talk. It's Kate, Max."
Yeah.
You're sitting down today with Vaughn Smith.
We're good.
Hi.
Did I do it?
You did
I
it.
do it? Awesome. You want to try it yourself?
I could. So, welcome to Ticker Talk. Kate and Max in the studio today with a special guest, Vaughn Smith.
Good morning.
Welcome, Vaughn.
Hi, guys. Hi, Treetown Ticker family from a ways. I feel like I know you, but I'm not here. I remote stalk everyone.
Awesome.
So it's good to see everybody.
Awesome. Well, welcome. Thanks for sitting down with us for a minute here, Vaughn. It was nice to have you come down and do a Pinoy test.
It was great.
And then get a little quick workout in.
It's very fun.
Yeah.
So, Vaughn, tell us about, we talk about you all the time. You're our remote client.
Wow.
But tell us a little bit about yourself, your fitness, who you are, and then, how you are here with us.
Okay. I'm a master's athlete, a 23-year teacher, coach, been around athletics kind of guy. Have a lot of roles and responsibilities in my life, but
Right, you're a single guy, bachelor.
Yeah.
I thought you were going to say you're a 23-year-old athlete.
Yeah.
Like, wow.
Yeah,
You look great.
Dreams. So yeah, husband, father of two awesome kids, lots of relationships with family and friends and whatever. To keep all those going is important. But I also found CrossFit in 2012 when I went to this barn in the middle of Dexter someplace, and there was this handsome devil having me do 14-pound wall balls, and I thought that was pretty amazing, and you got hooked on that early, and that's been a part of my life you think about this whole CrossFit thing, doing it for 6 years is a long time.
It is a long time.
But it's been my big escape. Before that, I've always wanted to compete in things, but this is the first thing I've competed at that where I'm actually like doing something productive health-wise,
Fair.
I chased the golf dream for a long time, and that's a cruel sport. And there's no residual benefit to doing that. In other words, you're not getting healthier by going and chasing the golf dream.
What happens in golf stays at golf.
Pretty much. It's a third wave adaptation. If you get good at golf, it makes you really good at golf, right? But if you other sports, if you get good at them, you see that transfer, right? So what a cool thing to be able to take my competitive drive to, and saw all kinds of ancillary benefits, and things are good. But then you start getting more and more competitive, and you start actually having some success, and you see the people around you having success. So what's the recipe for getting really good at CrossFit? More CrossFit. And it got to a point where I really wanted to be good and was seeing some success, but to get better, I felt like I had to do more and more and more, and go
Faster
heavier and
harder.
heavier and heavier, and every day to do it the right way, you had to get in a fight with Godzilla and punch him in the face and take your pre-workout, and it didn't matter how you're feeling, right? You didn't bail out, you went after it, and
that's kind of what you see everywhere, right? That's what everybody's promoting with it. And
It is, and so that was a big thing for me. Is the further along I was doing well there, and I would just sacrifice everything to get better and better at CrossFit by adding more and more intensity, more volume. I felt horrible. I moved poorly. I ached. It actually got to the point, I didn't tell you this, Max, I probably should have, that about a year and change ago, I went to a doctor because I thought I had sleep apnea.
Oh.
I was not sleeping. I felt terrible all the time. Super fatigue. Did the sleep study, everything else. They said, you do not have sleep apnea. And it got to the point where I'm a teacher. I have a 25-minute lunch. That's it. I had a cot in my back office. I would shut my lights off and sleep for 20 minutes during my lunch, and then try to sneak food in. So
all in the name of fitness?
Because right? This is what you do.
You were too fit to eat lunch.
Pretty much. And then all my other relationships, like I just described a minute ago, they all suffered.
Right.
I've got these two awesome kids that all they wanted to do, their favorite thing to do when they got home was throw the football in the backyard with me. And I would be like,
I'm too fit to throw the
bro.
football.
like
Bro.
I just, yeah.
How about
like,
get me a chair?
Yeah.
I'll sit down.
I'll watch.
Yeah.
Totally, right?
You
Like,
too? Yeah.
It's silly. It's stupid. So, anyways, so.
And keep in mind, like, you really, generally, when you're in the gym, having a great time, loving CrossFit. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. This isn't an anti-CrossFit conversation at all,
Absolutely
right?
not. No, but I think I just applied my desire and motivation and willingness to work in the wrong way, and I just was beating myself up. And again, it was definitely my go-to, my getaway. But I was sacrificing all of these relationships in the name of what I thought you had to do to get better.
Yeah.
And did you, I mean, hindsight's 2020, so it's easier for you to look back now, and we'll get into how you train now, and look back and realize all those things. At the time, short of not sleeping, which you thought was a medical issue, were you pretty contented in the path of your life? What made you want to make a change?
I think I didn't want to make a change. I was ready to gear up and go one more level deeper, actually.
Right.
And I called that same handsome devil up over here, and I said, okay.
You're going to give him a complex by
Ah,
calling
see,
him that.
He's a pretty handsome guy. And I said, what is it going to take for me to get to the next level? And I was so surprised at his answer. And
What did you tell him?
I don't know. What did I say?
the first thing you said was, well, send me all your numbers. Let's take a look at what it would take, because I just turned 45, or I was about to turn 45. I was going to change age groups. I had a pretty successful run as a 44-year-old athlete competing against the 40-year-olds. And boy, I just thought making the age group online qualifier would be the coolest thing. And so what would it take? And Max basically said, first of all, I'm not sure that's going to happen. And then second of all, let's take a look at what you're doing. And he actually had me sit down and write out my goals. And that was certainly one of my goals.
Did he have you write down the goals? This was impactful for me. Were not just my fitness goals, but my goals in life.
That's exactly what it was. And so goals in life and goals not just for next year or even 5 years. What's it going to look like? And I was actually very surprised at my answers. Just that, I want to be able to, my mother-in-law, she can water ski and she's 75 years old. Like
Yeah.
Right.
that is so kick-ass to watch my nephews and my own children just, drop their jaw at grandma making these perfect S-turns slalom skiing, okay. And
I'm sorry, but that's way cooler than a sub 3-minute Fran.
for
It
sure.
is.
So cool.
Right.
So, and then I just listed all of these things about my relationships and how important they were. And there was this
everything.
moment where it was like, is what you're doing and the things you'd have to sacrifice to get this short-term goal of age group online qualifier. But look at all the other things that you may be putting at risk. And it was a eye-opening moment. Like, like at some point, I knew there was going to have to be a switch. Right, the sport of CrossFit. Again, I'm not bashing CrossFit either. I'm glad you said that.
Because it's super fun.
Because I love it. I really do. But the sport of CrossFit versus CrossFit for health, and boy, now there's a deal where you can have it both ways and have enough energy to really sustain those relationships that you say are so important to you.
Yeah.
And that to me was just like,
It doesn't have to be one or the other.
Exactly.
And
that
I was
huge.
I think I remember that conversation. I don't remember it being just like, hey, it's not going to happen. I remember saying, hey, you've got to get stronger.
Right.
And I felt the only way for you to get stronger was to back off on your intensity.
Right.
Because you're doing, I remember what you were telling me, what you were doing. And, there's a lot of volume, a lot of heavy lifting, but yet you had some definite holes in your strength. Mm-hmm. And there was just no reason for the amount of work that you were putting in that would have been the case. Right. So, my interpretation of what you were doing was you just need to back off on your intensity to be able to absorb all that hard work you were doing, because you were kind of like, and you were describing it. Everything you just described about your training prior to starting to work with us was just overstress, overwork, beating yourself to the ground, and not being able to actually absorb anything that you were doing. And your first Pinoy test showed that all over the place, if you remember that.
Oh,
So did you start
sure.
training differently before the Pinoy test, or did we bring you in and we're gonna,
No.
we're gonna bane you up and go from there?
I came in and like normal, I looked at the barbell for 30 seconds and my heart rate jumped to, 170 beats, but That's where that was my normal.
Do we have a screen that we can bring up his first Pinoy?
Oh boy, that's a lot of pressure. We do.
All right, let's work on that. So you came in. Did you have any idea of how your training was about to change before doing that? Or what was your attitude like coming in to do that test? I feel like I've got two different kind of athletes that come in. Some of them that are like, I'm going to blow your test up. I'm going to show you how good I am. And then you have some that are so nervous, like you're going to have me walk.
Yeah, no, I'm smart enough to find people around me that I know are smarter than I am, and then shut up and listen. And,
right.
And so, obviously, with my history with Max, that made that very easy. I think had this been someone I didn't have a trusting relationship with, that I didn't know was super cognitive and thoughtful in what they were doing, that may have been a challenge. But,
Were
you surprised then by what you saw on results? We almost have it up.
Well, I remember, before we get into that, I remember, Vaughn, I was down in Florida with my wife, and I had been training like this for, I don't know, maybe 2 or 3 months by now. And we had a conversation, and I was telling you about what I was doing, and you were still beating yourself up pretty good, training really hard. And I remember having that conversation, and you're like, wow, that's really interesting, because I was telling you, man, I feel amazing, and I'm, just as strong, and I'm actually doing some things that I haven't done before. And then it was maybe 2 months later, I got another phone call, and you're like, man, I've been thinking about what you were saying, Max, and, things started to fall in line in that regards. And I think it was maybe a couple weeks later you were down getting tested and starting this project.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so I've got his test pulled up here. And you can see here, this is his first test. Boy, I got everything up here.
Happy birthday, someone.
It's Thanksgiving tomorrow.
Oh, shoot.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
I'm going to Costco.
You better go to Costco.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you can see on this first test, and we've talked about this before, he maxes out at burning fat at about 134 beats, but he's pulled a lot of sugar at that point. He's crossed over, and he's full on sugar at 140. Is that 3 beats there? Yeah.
Let's talk about your diet while you were going full CrossFit. What did that look like?
Craved sugar, but it wasn't bad. I would do the macro thing, and I was pretty consistent with that, and I was, pretty lean, and that was good. But man, I craved sugar, and it wasn't good sugar. Like I would do a session. I know I'd have another session coming up, so I'd hit some Sour Patch Kids and
oh man, that was your go-to.
Sour people.
Oh,
Mine was gummy bears.
Yeah, the tropical flavor of Sour Patch Kids is a game changer.
That's awesome.
I'd be low on sometimes carbs by the end of the night. I'd hit Cinnamon Toast Crunch, which is the best breakfast cereal out there. I'll debate anyone on that if you want to contact me at Vaughn Coffee and Bacon at Instagram. I'll see you there. So that was not good. But I was hitting my numbers. I thought that was fine, right?
Were you happy with the way you looked?
Yeah, no, I was happy with the way I looked, and that was fine, and that's always part of the equation, so that wasn't that bad, but it was convenient eating. Yeah. And then I even started looking at some RP stuff to get a little stronger, and they were telling me to eat crazy carbs, and so I was just eating 3.5 cups of sweet potatoes every morning. I think I had almost 1,000 calories, 1,000 plus calories in me before 7:30 a.m. every day.
And you probably needed them.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, maybe
for the way you were living.
Yeah.
What you were burning at that time, because you could see in your test you were burning mostly sugar.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I asked. I mean, he requires a lot of fuel to go through that, and then he uses a lot of fuel to go through that test.
Yeah.
But I was always hungry, and my wife was always packing me snacks when we went on like a road trip.
It's the worst thing when your kids get older and you don't have that. I mean, if you're a carb-fueled human, to not have the constant granola bars.
Yeah, no, she knew that I had hangry issues, so that was part of it.
So that says something, too. You say hangry. I mean, that's kind of shows that carb-addicted lifestyle that, you have no carbs to use. You're angry about it.
Yes.
How often are you hangry now?
Not very often. I actually, this would be a good segue to talk about because Max contacted my wife and sent her some questions. I never saw the results of the questions, by the way. So I'm very curious of what the questions were or what she said. But I would think she
We're saving that for another podcast.
Yeah, exactly.
We're gonna surprise those at the end of the show. You didn't know this was a setup. She's gonna call. She's gonna call in.
Yeah. So no, I'd say that's much more leveled out. Much more leveled out.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the major things when you become efficient with utilizing fuel is one, you don't have those cravings up and down, and you're just more consistent throughout the day, and you don't have the emotionals ups and downs.
For sure.
And now, like when you do have them, like you recognize, like, oh, well, geez, I haven't eaten since 8 o'clock.
And that's what it is. I'm not craving sugar. I'm hungry. And sometimes, like, I don't know, good mixed vegetables, like, you know, like a stir-fry mixed vegetable thing. I can just pound some vegetables, and I'm satiated. And I'm fine. And that's the biggest thing I notice about adding more fat. I'm satiated. Like, there's a difference between, like, being full and being satisfied. Those are two different things, right? So by adding fat in, now I'm like much more satisfied, and I'm not. Cool. So that's been a big change.
And that wasn't a huge thing that I suggested, was it?
You mainly said get off of processed foods, right? Start eating way more whole foods, and that's been good.
I would probably call it junk food.
Probably. Well, when you start calling the things that I thought were healthy food candy, that's a problem. Like my RX bars and my Quest bars, that's my healthy alternative, right?
Yeah.
And then like, it's a $3 candy bar. Like,
I had to go through that.
So that was disappointing. But no, so now I'm eating much more. You know, it's almost like the original CrossFit prescription of, you know, meat, vegetables, right? Some fruit, little starch, no sugar.
I love how everyone has that so ingrained that you can't say just part of it. You have to keep going.
Yeah, you got to finish it.
I forgot nuts and seeds were in there somewhere too. But yeah, so that was a change. That was good.
So we have you set up as kind of this before guy.
Yeah.
So then you come in and you do a test, and we see what you're made of. So we've got this test done, and you were sent away with some recommendations of heart rate training.
Yeah.
And did you start doing our MAP training right then?
Right then.
All right.
And what were you sent away? What did we tell you?
No more than 125 beats per minute, and do some long stuff, you know, like my extra time, because I kind of like having a second session every now and again. Do long 30-minute rows or 30-minute bikes, and all right, so I started, I started going full bore. I was in, and so I started doing that, and it was easy to do that because those second sessions at least were easy because sometimes with the CrossFit workout, a second session, you're doing something awful.
Right.
And you're by yourself, and my hand's shaking before I hit the 3, 2, 1 button.
Oh yeah, after you went to the bathroom.
Yeah, and had my double shot of C4, and I'm like, ready to let's go. I'm about to get in a fist fight. That's what it felt like, right? And that was very difficult. Now those second sessions were like just breathe your way through. You know what I mean? It was calm. It was just
cool.
Whatever. Yeah. But the training at first was awkward here. So as you said, and you talked about it as well. Man, my community of bros, my squad, like I'm surrounded by some really great people, right? And a lot of people can say that, but I'm surrounded by some really incredible people. And now I'm going to go in the corner by myself, right? Set up my little, heart rate monitor, and I'm going to move at 125 beats, which I was surprised at how little I could do before I spiked to 125. And my bros are watching me. And they're like, "What is happening over there?" And so that was probably my toughest choice of this. It's not that I didn't trust what was about to happen.
It was the commitment to doing it,
and having to lose some of that connection with my buddies. You know what I mean? I'm going to do this in the corner by myself.
Because part of what you love about CrossFit is your buddies and hanging out, it's your escape and goofing around,
the positive vibes and the high octane people. You get to slap on the rear end and high five and everything else. That's a good time. So to sacrifice that was big. Tough. Yeah, it was. But
they quickly coined you VO2 Vaughn. Is that right?
Yeah, that was great. That reminds me.
What did they think of what you were doing, like as it went on? So you're in the corner doing your own thing. They're kidding with you.
They were asking questions, and I was providing answers. And within a very short period of time, I was able to say, "I feel amazing right now. like my energy is so good, like throughout the day, like it is so much better, right? And like I talked about before, all those things that were important as far as the relationships were like I had way more energy to you know how it is when something happens at home or a relationship with your spouse or anything else. If you have the energy and you're in that calm, just kind of relaxed place, you deal with it with so much grace and class, and you just handle it very thoughtfully. You don't get a emotional reaction or a knee-jerk reaction. And so all of a sudden I've got that, and so it's like, huh. And so when they were asking, I started saying, guys, like, I don't know where this is going, but I feel really good right now. So that was interesting. That was
How did you feel while you were training? Because one of the things you loved were these multiple sessions a day and, that satisfaction of a good workout.
I felt like I was going slow. And again, good thing we had the trust, because there was some fear. Because that fear is, am I just now, am I turning this into Taibo? Am I like, missing out on something important? And
Midge has something important to add.
She wants my sweatshirt back. You can't have it. This is mine. But it didn't help that I had signed up for a couple of competitions.
Sure.
Right?
So you had that fear.
And so, like, what's going to happen if I go through 6 weeks of doing this and I go to a competition and now I'm not going to be able to do anything? Like, how's that going to go?
And you've got people that, of course, want to say, you're wasting your time. What are you doing over there? We'll see how well this works come.
And that's when you came and you delivered an awesome talk to our gym, and it really went well. But then it kind of set up this, like, okay, here's this guy, right? And here's Vaughn in the corner, and they're saying this is the way. And here's these 5 other guys for our gym that are set up for this competition.
Sure.
And they're doing, so it's almost like a battle of philosophies. I'm like, oh, crap.
A lot of pressure, Vaughn.
For sure. And so I'm like, man, what if I go and lay a total egg, and now that totally undercuts or undermines what they're thinking of, like what we're doing and what it's supposed to look like. And so anyways, that was a nervous deal.
Man, how'd that competition go?
It went really well. I was pleasantly surprised. I finished just off the podium, and it was very sprint and strength bias, if I was going to say. It wasn't up my alley. And that's fine. But yet I still performed well, and I felt good afterwards, and it was a great day. And so I think, if anything, it did the opposite of what I feared. It kind of gave some credence to, okay, here's this guy in the corner doing his thing, not laying on the floor every day when he's done, walking out and having a good time, and he's still able to perform. So I think that actually made some people actually look more intently into what I was doing versus just missing it.
How much time was in between when you started in that competition?
Like 5 weeks.
So not much time at all.
No, that's where I was like, man, wouldn't it be great if this was 6 months from now and I've had this chance to build this foundation. And at that time, I was still training at 125 beats. I hadn't earned a chance to move my MAF or anything like that. So things were slow. And so, I love going to competitions because I just laugh and blow off steam. It's a good time.
Right.
I had some anxiety going into that one, but it worked out great.
So we did another check-in. This was how long after the competition?
Oh, we're going to that one?
Yeah. The one right after 125 beats. Our first check-in after.
Yeah.
Oh, the anticipation.
I know. I hope it's good. I hope I got the right one. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So, significantly, at first glance, different test here.
Yeah, all of a sudden he gets to work out at 140 beats, yes?
Yeah. And the biggest difference was the first time I got off the assault bike doing this test, I was ruined. The first test we did, I walked down the street and back. I almost fell off that.
I tell this story at least once a week.
We have that.
Okay,
yeah.
I was ruined. I almost fell on that 6-inch step that you have. I don't know what's going on at the door now, but I almost fell. I almost buckled. And I was and you're trying to talk to me about what we need to do, and I was not in a place where I could listen.
It took you about 30 minutes to be able to come and sit down, didn't it?
It was bad. And so just the fact that I got off the bike the second test and I could I was fine.
Oh yeah, you came and sat down right away.
Yeah, it was a totally different result.
Yeah, cool. And we sent you home to train how? At what heart rates?
So I tried to stay around 140-ish to 150-ish, not go over 155. It's kind of like my ceiling.
Okay. And how's that? Any struggles with that, or some days it's easier than others, or what do you find?
I find I really like it. I feel like now I'm able to move a little more consistently and well. Because before at 125, I could lose it in a heartbeat.
Sure.
And so now I feel like I'm much more controlled. It's much more level. And yet I'm doing a lot of work. And so... And I'm feeling great about it. So
how's your recovery when you're working out? So just talking about losing it, you know, you felt like you'd hit 125 and then lose it from there. You just go up higher, right?
Well, I just have to stop. Like
right.
That is not the more I'm learning, that's not what you're supposed to do. But I would just pretty much stop and wait for 30 seconds for my heart rate to come back down.
So clearly at some point you found 125 where you didn't have to stop anymore.
Oh, yeah.
And then we retested and we gave you these new ones. Did you ever hit that point where you had to stop anymore? And what happened when you stopped moving because it was part of the prescription?
So like after your 3-minute work set, you know, 3 on, 1 off.
Okay.
Did you start to know, like, I don't want to lead you in here, but I remember when I used to train 3 on, 1 off, and I would be the last one to recover compared to the guys that I would train with.
I hear
you know what I mean? So now when I, it takes me 30 seconds and I'm ready to go.
Yeah, no, now that we're building in these 1 minute and 2 minute rests, my resting heart rate before I start the next set is sometimes as low, sometimes lower than when I started the first set.
Right.
So I am fully recovered.
Right. So thinking about that assault bike workout when you ramped up and then took 30 minutes to recover, you know, now we're talking a minute in between an effort to come back down.
Yeah. No. Yeah, much better.
So that's going to speak to the top part of that graph on the computer where the first one, we didn't highlight it, but I did notice that oxygen, the blue oxygen, was really close to the red carbon dioxide, where we're starting to notice here in this test where you actually have a gap. I mean, I liken this to, that's a sign of health, right? You're bringing in a lot of oxygen. So you're breathing well while you're working out, which is obviously the goal.
Right.
You want to be able to breathe while you're doing anything. And if you can breathe while you're doing CrossFit, here's the first one.
Yeah, so you can see the first test here. He's not utilizing oxygen well at all even in the early part of this test when it's generally almost rest, right? He's at 120 beats here.
And then looking in his recovery there in the purple bit, you should see.
Oops, sorry, Kate.
How much carbon dioxide you're breathing out.
Oh,
and
yeah. Yeah, during the recovery phase.
Yeah. So our second test already shows a much bigger gap. Mm-hmm. You know, so that shows you're, if nothing else, healthier because you're bringing in more oxygen.
And I was stoked about that.
While doing the same amount of work. How about that, right?
You know,
like it's the same test and suddenly you're breathing better.
Yeah.
I think it's something that is to note here. Even on this, if we look at this, counts the number of breaths. First test was 380 something compared to 280 something.
You were panting like a dog.
That's pretty.
I was surviving.
Right.
Right. And then even today, 275.
And today's test was hard. I mean, you
went hard. Let's look at today's. Even in comparison from when he started. You can see just the amount of oxygen utilization all the way up, throughout this test. Even when he gets up into the 160 beats.
And even look at that really recovery in the purple to the right. I mean, clearly at the end of a very hard effort, we're still seeing, we're seeing you hyperventilate. But you look there, and that gap is about as close as it was in the beginning of your first test.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
The cool thing here now is you're utilizing fat longer into the test, right? So at higher intensities, you're utilizing fat further along. Your crossover now is way over here at 100 and, what is that? 72 beats, right? So, I mean, you're not going full sugar until 170 beats, which is pretty awesome. Awesome. Which is this is why you're feeling better. This is why you recover better from your workouts. This is why during a workout you don't get as stressed and strained. Because before this was at 140 beats, so you would spend the whole day, right? So now you've trained yourself to be able to utilize fat. Let's just stop using the word utilizing fat for a minute, and let's just talk about. You're able to actually breathe. Right.
Sure.
You are being efficient. So that's cool to see, Vaughn.
It is cool.
So what's next?
Yeah, where's this all going, Vaughn?
Well, I think I see this nice smooth trajectory on a long and distant horizon. In other words,
Cool.
I see I could do this for a long time, right? And the fact that I don't have to sacrifice all these other things in the process, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So that's what I see.
Do you feel like it's going to take you longer, or do you think it's going to take you shorter time, or do you think you might actually get there now? Whatever that goal is.
I would think I'm not only am I going to get there, but I predict fewer setbacks.
Yeah.
Like I felt like there was a lot of roller coastering, and now I don't feel that I'm going to have that monster roller coastering.
Yeah, we didn't talk about injuries or soreness or anything.
Dude, shoulders and knees, and like I had this whole like system of how I could roll over in the night. Like it was this like whole. I had to decide if I really wanted to try to do it. Everything hurt.
Right.
I remember you saying that you'd wake up some mornings and you're like, oh my God, am I injured?
Well, yeah. You had to always wait a couple days to see if it went away or it was there to stay. Right. And that was bad. That was some bad
Well, you were
times.
earning your fitness at that time, Vaughn, you know?
Something.
Yeah.
So things are good. That's the biggest thing, though, about all of this is I feel like I'm a better human being. And I think the quote that came out of our last talk was, I'm able to give more of myself to the people around me that I love. And that is amazing. Like that,
Yeah.
and I'm still able to do it, and I'm still getting better. And so, like, that to me is the ultimate game changer. And in fact, I've used that hashtag everywhere now. Better human being, like every time.
Yeah.
I really feel like that's been the game changer, and I can both become a better athlete. I can train, well, and
do what you love,
and do what I love,
and have more fun at it.
Yeah, and still have all these relationships just be strong, and that to me has been a game changer, huge game changer.
Well, yeah, it makes me very proud to be able to be a part of that, Vaughn, because I know the way others look to you and the high regard they hold you, and for you to be able to feel like you weren't giving your best self compared to now, it's a big deal. And I think the fact that you weren't able to share the best of yourself prior, and it would be sad, right? All in the name of fitness.
Totally.
And when you have so much to offer to be such a fantastic dad and husband and teacher and all that stuff. So I'm glad that I get to play just one small little part into helping you, prolong that and to continue to grow as that. So, I've told you thank you before, but you've been just a great example, through all of this stuff that we're doing here at Tree Town, because this isn't an easy thing for me to be able to convince people to do. So it's a big deal that you would trust me, right? It's a big deal that you would play along,
sure.
Right? Of course, I'm super excited that we're having fantastic results, right? Which makes it all worth it for you, and then also helps make us, gives us more stories to share and creates more buy-in, and continues to kill this no pain, no gain attitude, because
Absolutely.
we just don't need it, right? And you'd agree with that?
Absolutely. I am in, and now like the rumor about CrossFitters, right? You can always tell a CrossFitter because they'll tell you they're a CrossFitter, right?
They'll tell you all about
now
CrossFit.
I'm like, man, now I'm feeling like, okay, like people are going to listen. I'm telling you that there is a better way, and I am living proof of that. So it's been awesome.
Yeah.
It's been awesome.
Well, Vaughn, I appreciate you sitting down with us, taking so much time. We took a lot of your time today.
Oh, this has been...
Yeah. Kate, you have anything else for the day?
There is no better ending than what we just ended with.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah.
All right, Vaughn.
Thanks.
You got anything? Got anything to end with?
Let's see. No, I'm going to Costco. I'm going to go
Oh, my gosh.
elbows up, pumpkin pies, and
Yeah.
if I get arrested, get in a fist fight in Costco.
I was there yesterday. It was a disaster. I hope you're ready.
I am ready.
You should just go aerobically do CrossFit.
Yeah.
Aerobic
CrossFit.
Costco is amazing.
Have your heart rate monitor on your phone.
great idea.
Not my math.
You might pull into the drive threshold, dude.
Could be.
All right.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks. See you later.
See ya.